Hello, Internet. It is I, Malik Aaron, and welcome back to Box Office Predictions. Today, we're going to be talking about Together. So, as usual, we're going to be going over the pros and cons. So, let's get to it. And sorry about the poster being shown. This is the one that happened to pop up. I wish it wasn't this one because it just makes me squeamish, but it's what we got. So, yeah. So, pros. Okay, so reviews for this movie are very, very good. Has a 91% critic score. Its audience score is a bit lower at 79%, but it's not like super fatal for this type of movie. Its cinema score is a C plus, which is pretty much like par for the course when it comes to horror, because horror always had like a bad time of cinema score. Like when you get like a B, that's considered like an A plus. I'm pretty sure like Sinners might be the only one to get like an A. I think. I'm pretty sure because I know that was like a big deal with Sinners. But yeah, so reviews are very good. Audience reaction isn't quite as good, but that doesn't surprise me considering what this movie is. So yeah, I guess I'll label general reception as a pro overall. So that's pro number one. Pro number two. Let's see. So I can talk about our two leads here, Allison Brie and Dave Franco, who happen to be married in real life. And granted, that could be a bad thing for a movie because, I mean, a big example of like real life relationship on big screen going bad. Geely is an historic example of that going like the worst way imaginable. But here, I feel like in this case, it actually seems that it fuels the movie rather than like hurts it. But our main two here, we got Allison Brie, who let's see, she's been in a number of movies. She's been like a supporting, feels like more like a supporting actress, type of woman. She's been in a number of movies. I see Get Hard. I see How to Be Single. She was the voice of Unikitty in the Lego movies. She's a disaster artist. I forgot about Freelance. God, Community. Was she in Community? I'm pretty sure she's been in a lot of TV, so I just not a whole lot of movie roles. But I'm gonna check just to be clear, just the way I don't get like my facts wrong. Allison Brie, what has she been in? Yeah, she's mainly been like in TV. Her breakout was apparently in Community. She was also in Mad Men, and she was the voice of Diane in BoJack Horseman. Okay. No, she was in Scream 4. I didn't know that. Oh, okay then. But yeah, she's been like a lot of stuff, TV and movies. And then we got Dave Franco, which I believe is James Franco's brother, I think. I'm pretty sure it's his brother. Dave Franco. Blah, 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 blah. I'm pretty sure it's not his brother. uh, doesn't really mention it. Yeah, it is his brother. Okay, I was right. But yeah, so Dave Franco, he's been in a number of movies. The main ones I can recognize off the top of my head is 21 and 22 Jump Street. There's Now You See Me. He was a part of the Four Horsemen and like those movies. About to get a third movie later this year. He voiced in the Lego movie. I did not know that. Okay, I know he's in Neighbors. Unfinished Business. Wow, talk about a forgotten movie. It's lost to the sands of time for good reason because I heard it was absolutely horrible. There's Nerve. I remember that. Um, Disaster Artist, Lego Ninjago movie, a movie no one gave a damn about. And then there's Together. Then later this year, there's Now You See Me, Now You Don't. But yeah, Dave Franco and Allison Brie, they're both recognizable. It helps that, they're both together in real life. And the movie is like fueled by that fact. But, we got two recognizable leads. So I will label that as a pro. Another pro is the fact that the way the movie looks, like the first trailer, I remember seeing it in front of the monkey, and it had like this weird vibe, but a vibe that made me like intrigued. It didn't like turn me away. It made me go, maybe I should watch those. With how it was like set up and everything, and then the final shot of like this, I was just like, what the fuck was that? It's just, yeah, it made me curious about the movie. Then I heard more about it, and I was like, okay, this feels like a movie I should watch. I should definitely, check out. So yeah, just how the movie looks and just the overall vibe of it, I feel like appeals to a lot of like horror aficionados, myself included. So I'll label that as a pro. Um, I guess Well, I'm not gonna label it as a pro or a con. I'll just mention like its Wednesday numbers because this movie came out midweek. I decided not to cover it midweek because I didn't feel like it was that important. Like I've covered midweek movies before, even like outside of a holiday. Like I've covered Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning midweek. I covered Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem midweek. Like I've done it before. It just depends on what the movie is. If it's like a small movie, I'd rather just wait till the weekend, and that's what I did here. But this movie opened midweek. It's Tuesday preview numbers were good, but basically represented half its box office on Wednesday. So with 2.6 million on Wednesday, fell off a bit Thursday, but that's not too surprising. That's usually how it works with like midweek release movies. Then it jumped up Friday, which again is how it usually works. So yeah, I guess these numbers, like for what this movie is, for like a small horror flick, it's not terrible. Depends on how much this movie costs, though. But I have to like check, um, because I know what Neon bought this movie. I think at a festival, I think it was like for 17 mil. Yeah, 17 million. So yeah, but I guess these midweek numbers, it could be worse, could be better. So that's why I'm gonna have it's like in the middle. So yeah, that's what I'm not gonna label as a pro or a con. Okay, cons. There's the fact that horror has been kind of oversaturated this summer. We've had a lot of horror movies. Hell, we've had lot of horror movies this year when you really look at it. I mean, going through like the list, there's Wolfman. Does Companion count as a horror movie? That's more of a thriller. I'm not really going to count Companion, but Hard Eyes is definitely a horror movie. Hard Eyes, The Monkey, Sinners. Drop's more of a thriller. The Woman in the Yard, that's another one. Final Destination Bloodlines is a big one. Until Dawn, Bring Her Back. 28 Years Later, I know that. Was there any others in Megan 2.0? And then Megan 2.0, calling that a horror movie feels wrong. And then there's I Know What You Did Last Summer and A Hero Together. So yeah, a lot of horror movies, and it's very much been like a feast or famine type year because we've had hits like Sinners and Final Destination Bloodlines did fantastic, and then 28 years later that did all right, and The Monkey also did decent too. But for the most part, we had a lot of flops in the horror sphere. I mean, Wolfman was a flop. Woman in the Yard was a flop. Megan 2.0 was a huge flop. Um, I Know What You Did Last Summer. No one gave a damn about that. Bring Her Back didn't do as well as I wanted it to do, even though I thought it was very good, but kind of underwhelmed a little bit. So yeah, and it's not it for horror. We got plenty coming later. Next week we got Weapons. Then we got other movies like Conjuring: Last Rites, and then Him, and then Black Phone 2, and then Five Nights at Freddy's 2. We got quite a bit more horror to come. But it's very clear horror movie fans, they're not going to watch everything. So that's made very apparent. So, bit of an oversaturation in the horror genre. I will label that as a con. And I feel like I don't think it'll hurt but Weapons as much as this. Because Weapons has like a cool feel to it. That movie actually does have quite a bit of hype surrounding it. But yeah, horror as a whole, it needs to take like a break, just a bit of a break. It needs to slow the releases a little bit, space them out, or at least space them out more. But yeah, just horror oversaturation. I'll label that as a con. Another con is I don't know. I think that's the main thing that this movie is going against is the horror oversaturation. That's like the main issue this movie has. And I guess there's also the thing where this movie is being accused of like plagiarism. Like someone may like sue like the movie for plagiarism. I don't know how true that is. I mean, plagiarism is obviously a bad thing, very bad thing. But again, I don't know how true that is. But it doesn't seem like that's having much of an effect on this movie. Because if it did, the movie would have been like pulled from release, right? But it's not. So I don't know where that's gonna go, but I'm not really gonna label it as a con. Just something to really note. It's like a minor note, and I think that's really it. I guess I can. Oh, I can mention Neon. They've gotten to making, you know, weird movies, just like A24, kind of like you know, taking like A24's like target audience. But Neon, they've become very prevalent in the last really 2 years. Although they've had hits before, like I, Tonya and Parasite, but they've had other movies as well. You know, Anora, which came out last year, that was the big Oscar winner. The Monkey came out like early this year, did very well. And they had their biggest hit last year with Long Legs, the movie that shocked the box office last year. So, yeah, they got some hits on their belt. They got some momentum on their side. But they don't have like a whole lot here. Some of their movies just kind of like just went unseen. Together, we'll obviously do better than the majority of these movies. But yeah, I say Neon, like they're growing a reputation. They're trying to like, expand, which is commendable. I mean, they got another Osgood Perkins movie later this year, Keeper, which looks well very much like doesn't look. It's very much like a feel. I get the vibe's gonna be a feel bad type of horror movie, which I'm all for. So yeah, they got that later in the year, but they definitely grown in terms of like I guess reputation. So I'll label that as a pro. And I think that's it. So opening weekend, well, we gotta do like 3 day and 5 day because this movie opened midweek. So it's 3 day if I look at it. I think it's projected to hit 6 million. That this is as of like yesterday though, so take that with a grain of salt. But let me see. Uh, da, da, da. Yeah, it's projected to hit between 6 to 7 million for the 3 day, and 10 to 11 million for the 5 day. Which apparently that's on par of Midsommar, which I think is probably a good comparison with this, because it's also like a summer horror movie that opened midweek. So yeah, I guess I'll stick with that. 6 to 7 million for 3 day, 10 to 11 million for 5 day. It's total. I think it could hit over 20 million. I think it can do it as long as it can survive Weapons. I think it can pull it off. So yeah, I'm gonna go with that. Yeah, 20 million plus. And I think that's it. So that's it for the weekend. Not exactly a ultra exciting weekend. I mean, it wasn't like terrible. I mean, all three movies got good reviews, so quality sure isn't an issue. But still kind of like a meh weekend. Next week will be a whole lot more interesting because, well, this sketch, I'll cover that Friday because I don't feel like covering it midweek. I don't think it's worth that. But next Friday's gonna be very interesting. We got two very different movies going up head to head. We got Freakier Friday, which is long long time coming like sequel to Freaky Friday, and then we got Weapons, a horror movie made by the guy who made Barbarian, a movie that has quite a bit of hype surrounding it. A movie I'm very excited to see. So that'll be a very interesting showdown between those two movies. So it'll be a lot more interesting to talk about. So stay tuned for those videos next week. But yeah, that's it. That's all. Make sure to subscribe, like this video, leave a comment, turn on notifications, share the whole drill. You want to check out more videos like this? I got playlists on the homepage, all previous prediction videos I made this year or the past few years. You want to watch any of them, go right ahead. There's also box office recaps where I go over the box office results for any particular month. July recap that'll come out next week. That's going to be one of the shortest recap videos I'll ever do because very few movies came out in July. I mean, which was good for me, but that video is going to be quite short in content. So just full warning there. And then August recap, that'll be the second weekend of September. God, second week of September is my August recap. Then the end of that month will be my summer 2025 recap, which will likely be a two-part video, not a three-parter, probably a two-parter. So stay tuned for that as well. But if you want to watch any of the past recap videos I made on the channel, you can go right ahead. There's also the Canceled series where I went over all the movies that were supposed to come out but didn't. I made 250 episodes. Never talked about together. So there's that. But if you want to watch any of those episodes, you want to binge watch the whole series from beginning to end, I highly suggest you do that. So go do it. And yeah, that's it. That's all. I am out. Goodbye.